good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to our webinar today. My name is Anika, and I have with me Emily.
Hello,
So,
everyone. Good evening.
so whenever you come join us, please introduce yourselves. Say hi in the comment section below, and tell us where you're from and where you are at the moment. And in the meantime, we can introduce ourselves. So, Emily, do you want to go first?
Sure. So my name is Emily, as Anika said. I'm originally from the UK, from the middle of England, more specifically, and now I live and work in Milan.
Okay, and I am Anika, as I said before. I'm from Bangladesh originally, and I have been living in Italy for about 6 years now. Okay, so today we're going to talk about LinkedIn profiles. So, do you have a LinkedIn profile, Emily?
I don't. Most
Oh,
of
really?
it's something that people occasionally recommend to me,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I am not a big fan of social media in general.
Hmm.
I sometimes use it, but I haven't set up a LinkedIn account so far.
Right.
What about you?
I think I'm quite similar to you in the sense that I am not a big fan of social media either,
Hmm.
but LinkedIn is just one uh, platform that I do have.
Hmm.
I think it's useful for finding jobs or looking for right opportunities, so
Hmm.
on. In some cases, it can be useful. So I like the expressions that we both used, not a big fan of. So
Hmm.
sometimes this is really common. So in case you guys don't use it or don't know about it, you use this expression to talk about something you don't like,
Hmm.
but you don't want to be so direct about it. Like, I don't like it. You don't say that. You say, I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan. Okay. Oh, hi, Katerina. Thank you for joining us. So she's from
Hi.
Livorno, not so far from Pisa. It takes 20 or 30 minutes by car, right? I
Hmm.
haven't been there, but I always wanted to go to Pisa.
Hmm.
That's where the Leaning Tower is, isn't it, Emily?
Yes, I believe so. I also haven't visited, but
Hmm.
it sounds like a lovely area.
Oh yeah. So, what about Katerina? Do you like social media, or are you not a big fan of social media like us? Well, LinkedIn is probably a little more on the professional side of social
Hmm.
media, other than
Yeah.
Facebook or Instagram, right?
Yeah, I
So,
think for me, it's that I so far I haven't needed
mhm,
it, so I prefer not to start a new social media profile. But
right.
I do have Facebook because I started it many years ago, and now
Hmm.
it's a way to keep in touch, to keep contact with people from home or people from a longer, older
Hmm.
friends that I have.
Oh, that's really nice. I used to have Facebook,
Mm.
but then I got rid of it because I thought it took too much time to spend on it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then now I think I might be regretting it a little bit because it's a
Mm.
good thing to keep in touch with people. So
Yeah.
I
I
might
don't
open
have
it
it on
again.
my
I don't know.
phone. I refuse to
All
have
right.
it on my phone. So that's the
Oh,
boundary that I set.
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, we
Oh.
have more
Hmm.
people. Hello to Diego from Palermo and Martina from Pisa. Okay, someone else from Caterina's region.
Cool. So let's get started with LinkedIn profile. So today we're going to talk about writing your LinkedIn profile. So this could look a little similar to writing your CV, your resume.
Hmm.
And then we're going to talk about present simple, present continuous, and past simple. A little bit of grammar there. And
Hmm.
describing job responsibilities. So just like in resume, sometimes in LinkedIn, you may have to describe what you did in your previous jobs. Okay. So let's get started with some questions. We are going to discuss these questions, and then in the meantime, if you guys want to participate, please write the number of the question and type up your answers.
Mm-hmm.
So Katerina here says, "I'm not able with technology." I'm not able. Maybe okay, but I think social media like Facebook and Instagram because I like sharing photos and thoughts. So maybe there is a verb missing. I'm not able to something with
Yeah.
technology.
I mean, you could also maybe just say, I'm not good with technology, or I'm
Hmm.
not good at technology, something like that. Because able, we don't really use able very much with nouns. We often use it, like Anika said, with verbs. So, for
Hmm.
example, I'm not able to drive. It's something that I cannot do. But we probably for a skill, we'd just say I'm not good at or good with something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, nice
So
comment
yeah,
there.
nice comment. Yeah. So she likes sharing photos. I
Mhm.
tried to be on Instagram, but then after 1 week, I gave up because I don't take photos. I don't take
Yeah,
any photos, so I was like useless. So I was like, okay, I don't need it.
yeah, I am not on Instagram for the same reason.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Catherine said, yes, I'm not good with. Good at is the correct pronunciation.
Yeah,
Good
I think
with,
good with is okay
with
as
fine.
well.
Okay. All right.
Maybe yeah, good with is maybe about comfort as well. If you feel
Hmm.
uncomfortable with something, I would say good with in that situation,
That's true.
personally.
Hmm.
But I know often the beauty and the inconvenience of having people from different regions is that we speak slightly different types of English, so we
That's true.
disagree sometimes.
Yeah.
But both of us are correct.
Right. Well, I think also the meaning sometimes changes with preposition, like good
Yeah.
at, like when you're talking about ability
Hmm.
or something.
Sure.
But with is more like about comfort, like as Emily
Mhm.
said.
Yeah. So I think probably in this example, both of them are okay. It just changes the meaning slightly, not in a big way, just a
Yeah.
little.
Yeah.
Okay. Elisa, welcome, says, I'm Elisa from Milan. I don't have any social media except LinkedIn. Okay, a bit like you, Anika. It's very
Yes.
useful to search for work or to find work, even if in Italy it is not used very often, probably, or Italian companies don't use it very often, is what I would say.
Oh, yes. So maybe different countries also have different use of LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Okay. So what is LinkedIn? So we were talking about it so far. So it's kind of social media, which is a little bit on the professional side. So let's maybe talk about the second one is that do you have a LinkedIn profile? So,
Mhm.
so whoever's watching, please let us know if you have a LinkedIn profile. If not, why not? Or if you think
Mhm.
it's a good idea to have a LinkedIn profile.
Mm. Yeah, because one thing I'm never sure I understand about LinkedIn, maybe you know the answer to this,
Hmm?
is do you use it just for finding jobs? What else can you use it for?
Well, I personally opened it for finding jobs, but then
Mm.
right now I'm not looking for a job. But in the homepage, you can find a lot of news about companies, like
Mm.
what's happening with other companies, and you can follow other companies. You also
Mm.
get some news about politics or whatever. It depends on what you follow.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, that makes sense. A bit like other social media
yeah.
platforms. Yeah.
Although I think whoever has it, I mean, from my experience, you won't be really needing to um, check LinkedIn every day. I
Yeah.
think maybe after a few days, I think in Facebook, for example, you can open it like every day and you might find some communication going on.
Mhm.
With LinkedIn, you
Yeah.
can leave it for some weeks and then you check some news.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, we have Sonia here now as well. So I don't have any social media. And so just remember the connectives in English as well. I'm not good with technology. Yeah, sure. And there is no problem with that at all.
Hmm.
Just one thing, be careful with the apostrophe. So I don't have that may be a typing error, but we want just for the spelling the apostrophe before the T. So I don't have like just like this.
Hmm. So we also have Angelo from Milan. Hi,
Mhm.
Angelo. Nice to see you
Hi
here.
from our school.
Okay.
Okay. And just one thing there, Angela. So instead of sorry for late, in general, sorry, I'm late. Okay, so we use to be with late.
Yeah, this is something very useful, very common.
Mhm.
So we hear a lot of students coming in late in class saying the same thing. So I'm
Yeah,
late is the
absolutely.
right thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So why do you think people use LinkedIn?
Mm, yeah. So again, we would like to hear from you, but my feeling is it is, like you said, a professional website. Maybe you want to find a job, maybe you want to talk to people in similar jobs,
Hmm.
or in a similar industry to you. But as I said, I don't use it myself, so that is just
Yeah.
my perception from what
Yeah.
other people say.
Sure. And yeah, okay. So if you guys are watching, you can tell us about your experience with LinkedIn, whether you
Mhm.
like it or whether you think it's not very useful. So feel free to share.
Yeah.
Also, um, I think I agree with you, Emily. So I think the same reason why people use LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So we can talk about the fourth one. Do you think it is useful to find a job? Um, I think, from my experience, I think it is quite useful to find a job in our profession, in our field. So maybe it
Hmm.
varies from profession to like career, different types of jobs. So it may
Yeah,
not be the case for every job. So
sure. Have you got a job through LinkedIn
I
before?
think I think for the job that we're doing in my yes, I think I saw the advertisement in LinkedIn.
Right, right.
I did.
Yeah.
So yep, I think it's quite
Mhm.
useful.
Yeah, I
So
think it seems useful. There are a lot of adverts, maybe some connections you can
hmm,
make in a more informal way if you want to.
yeah, okay. So while you guys are answering, we can move on to the next task maybe.
Hmm.
Here we have an exercise with some useful words that you can put in your LinkedIn profile or your resume in your
Hmm.
CV. So we have to fill in the sentences with the correct words. Um, so for the words, we have manage. So this is a word that I find some students pronouncing incorrectly. Instead of
Hmm.
manage, a lot of students say manage, but the stress must be in the first syllable. Manage. B
Hmm.
says decreased. C responsible for. D created. E coordinate. And F improved.
Hmm. Great. Okay, and I see we have some comments, but before we go through those, I will just read the sentences with the blanks so that you can start to give answers there. So number one, you have I something projects with other employees. Two, I something the company newsletter. I something a team of seven. I something sales and customer satisfaction. Five, I was something hiring new employees. And six, I something the cost of production.
Okay. Right, so interesting comments here. Angelo says, "I use LinkedIn to find a
Mhm,
job." I would say to find jobs in general, or to participate in webinar or in
mhm,
introduction of new software. Okay, so
mhm.
I imagine you're probably in the IT business.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So again, I would also use the plural. So
Mhm.
participate in webinars, probably plural there. If I go back, I think Sonia says, my husband has a LinkedIn profile because he is a structural engineer. Okay. Yeah. So maybe to find jobs in that industry, it's more useful. And
Mm.
well done for correcting your spelling as well. That's great. And Lisa says LinkedIn is we'd probably say the home of social recruiting because house is the physical building and home is more of an idea. It's more metaphorical. So when we are being abstract, we often use home. If you use it well, use nice sentence, but remember the order there. If you use it well, you'll increase the possibilities of finding a good job. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's not a guarantee, it's not certain, but you're right, it can improve your chances, it can increase the possibilities. Definitely. That's great.
Yes. And then we have more comments. Angelo says, "I use LinkedIn for job to participate." Oh, I'm sorry.
You've done that one.
I think I
Go on.
mixed up the
Yeah, it's okay. It's
sequence.
okay.
All right. Okay, so Massimo here says, "Hi, I'm Massimo from Milan. Hi there. LinkedIn is very useful to find a job, but it is also a strong tool for personal branding." And
Hmm.
I do agree with you. So a lot of people who are
Hmm.
freelancers or are self-employed sometimes find it really useful to promote themselves, promote their business.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
definitely. I think in
mm,
social media in general as well, I think Instagram is
mhm.
potentially quite good for that if you can use it
Yes.
in certain areas. Yeah, that's a really great comment.
Okay, so people are already answering the questions. Well done, Angela. I think you're right. I
Hmm.
coordinate projects with other employees. That's true.
Hmm.
Great. So coordinate. So Massimo says 4A. Okay, so we were going to take that
Cool.
later when we
Right,
are recording
yeah.
it. So Angelo is a project manager.
Okay, great.
Nice.
Okay.
Catherine says, even if LinkedIn is quite spread, I'm not so good with it. It's quite, would you use the word spread, widespread?
Widespread or common, probably.
Yeah, probably common is more common to say.
Yeah, but widespread as well.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. We have number two. We have some different answers for two, it
Hmm.
looks like. So Angela says responsible for. Massimo says created.
Hmm.
Martina says manage. So there is I here would agree with Massimo and Sonia. I would say created, because it's probably something new that you chose
Hmm.
to begin, you chose to start. So Angela,
Absolutely.
we will come back to responsible for, because responsible is a different type of word. So that one is not, that one cannot be correct. Whereas Martina,
True.
I see where you are coming from. It is a technically correct sentence. It's just this answer works. It's just that created works better.
Mm. Also, for responsible for, the reason why we can't take it is because the verb is to be responsible for, but there is no
Yeah,
verb to be. It's not I am.
exactly. Because responsible is an adjective.
Yeah.
So that will give you a clue for one of the later answers.
Yes, that's true. And then number three, do we have any answers for number three yet?
I don't think we do yet.
Probably not. Okay. So, mm,
So we'll give you another minute maybe, and because we have
mhm.
another few comments to talk about. So Francesca, oh sorry, Francesco, I read that wrongly, says hi to everyone. So I use LinkedIn because it's a strong tool, again, for personal branding. Yeah, so just remember, a strong tool for personal branding and to create a network of people who work in the same sector you are interested in. Yeah, that's a really nice comment. This also raises a point which comes up a lot, which is the word people. So people is plural. It's always plural. Okay, so we always say who work. Yeah, and it's just irregular. You have one person, two people. And I know this is maybe harder to remember because it's irregular, but that's all it is. Okay. But a really nice sentence there, Francesco. Well done.
Okay, so maybe we could give the answer for number three already.
Oh, we have some answers now.
Oh, yes. Three, your guys are saying E. We have already used E before, so 3A. Got a nice job, Katerina. So I manage a team of 7. Great.
Yeah.
So when you talk about people, you often use the word manage.
Hmm.
Um, for projects, you don't normally say coordinate.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a nice difference there.
Mm.
Okay, number four, I think we do have an answer for, if I can find it. I think Sonia said A. So again, we've used manage just now,
Mm.
so it's not that one. I can't see any other answers so far for that. So what do you think, Anika, for number four?
So sales and customer satisfaction. Um, so you would be, technically there could be different answers that are possible, but
Yes.
you have to, I think it's a good idea to try all of them
Mhm.
and then
Yeah, and
and
think about the purpose as well of the
yeah.
sentences.
Okay, so we have some answers for F. I improved.
Hmm.
That could be the answer. Yeah, I
Yeah,
improved sales and customer
perfect.
satisfaction.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we want the
When you
positive
improve
answer.
something, you make it better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't want
So
to decrease satisfaction at all.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Elisa has the final two as well. Thank you. So Elisa says 5C, but that's responsible for. That's right. As we know, Responsible is an adjective, so we always need to be with it. So I was responsible for hiring new employees. That's great.
And so, of course, number 6 is I decreased the cost of production. Okay. So these are really common words or sentences you might need to put on your resume. So I just
Mm-hmm.
want to mention something about the expression responsible for. So I hear a lot of students confusing this word for a noun. So you don't say I am responsible of the
Mm-hmm.
sales department. I'm responsible for. That means you are probably the head of the department and you are in charge of what goes on in that department. So,
Mm-hmm.
responsible for can also be another synonym of responsible for would be in charge of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to be responsible for.
Yeah. Um, for the noun, I would probably say, like you, a department head or a manager, maybe.
Oh, yes. Okay. And so it's good to know different synonyms of this because in the resume you or in on a LinkedIn profile you may need
Mm-hmm.
to talk about different responsibilities and you don't want to repeat the same thing again and again.
Yeah.
You don't want to say I'm
Yeah.
responsible for. You want to change it to
Yes.
I'm in charge of, I was the manager of, it's like that.
Exactly.
So
I think that's the most important thing about a, C, a, C- a CV, a cover letter, a LinkedIn profile. It's always varying, it's always changing those sentences, trying not to use exactly the same words all the time.
yeah. So maybe we can also get to some practice here. So if you
Hmm.
guys coordinate something or manage a team, so you can tell us about your job. Okay. So as teachers, for example, we coordinate group lessons.
Hmm.
Okay. So maybe you guys can write like one sentence if you manage a team or if you improve um, or if you reduce or decrease cost of something or expense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are more examples on the next slide as well, which might
Mhm.
help.
Okay, let's get to it then. So here we have some nice examples. So number one, we have a quick task. So all the writing tasks will be done with speaking, obviously. So write
Hmm.
3 sentences for your LinkedIn profile statement describing your present or most recent work duties. So the examples here are I write the company's newsletter. I'm responsible for the quality inspection and I communicate with other departments.
Hmm. Yeah, so again, it's trying to use very strong verbs or strong adjectives to use
Yeah.
your point rather than just saying maybe something like I do. Because I do is very
Mhm.
boring. It's just talking about any activity. We are trying to be specific, to be more active. And I would say communicate is a really good verb to use in this kind of context as well.
I agree. So the first set of examples are in the present tense.
Hmm.
So if you guys want to share it with us, please feel free to tell us about your job
Hmm.
responsibility. Okay, so for example, as teachers, we are, what could we use?
Yeah, this is very difficult when you do it for yourself.
Yes.
You know, I communicate with other teachers, for example.
Yes.
Um,
So Well, we can think of examples of other jobs as well. Like some people have to write reports. So I remember
Mhm.
in one of my previous jobs, I had to write reports and meet deadlines for doing some research.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And have to is an interesting one because you can of course use have to in
Hmm.
this context, but I probably wouldn't say it more than once or twice because it's saying there is an obligation. This is not a task that I necessarily enjoyed. This is
Oh,
something that
yes.
was required.
Hmm.
So this is why we try to use kind of these strong verbs like I write, I complete tasks. Maybe I saying I do things completely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I write reports. I meet deadlines.
Hmm.
Good question here from
Yeah.
TT. Can I use run to say manage? Hmm. So for me, maybe you will see if you agree, Anika. I
Hmm.
would say run yes for an office or
Hmm.
for maybe a group or something like
Hmm.
that, but not for people.
I
You
think I
don't run.
agree. And it sounds more like you own the business
Mhm.
or you are
Yeah,
in charge of like the whole
yeah,
thing.
definitely. If you run a business,
Hmm.
you are the most important person in
Yeah.
that business. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that is the most common context. Or if you run an office, you are the
Hmm.
manager of everyone in that office.
Yeah. Yeah. People sometimes run a coffee shop or
Mm,
they're the
mm.
owner, the most important person.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good question.
yeah, really good.
Okay. So the first three examples were about your present job.
Hmm.
And the next three examples are for your previous jobs, right? So these are three sentences from your past work duties. So the examples are I supervised a team of 5. I managed communications in the department. I coordinated events for the company.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, the third example, I coordinated events, that maybe is one example of run. You could say I ran events for the
Hmm.
company. Uh,
Hmm,
uh,
that's true.
So Titi now asks if I say run a magazine, is this sentence correct? It depends on what you want to say, because it can be correct, but it suggests that you are the most important person. You manage all of the content in the magazine, and you communicate with the printers. You organize everything in the magazine. Maybe you're the editor, for example.
Hmm.
But if you work at a magazine, if you maybe write part of it, then
Hmm.
it wouldn't be appropriate.
Yes. Elisa here has a good example. I'm in charge of training new employees. Well done.
Hmm, great.
So also good to note that you use the gerund of the verb after in charge of.
Hmm. Yeah, really nice sentence there, Elisa.
So also feel free to share with us any past experiences and any past duties. So for
Hmm.
example, the third sentence here is something I would use in my profile because
Hmm.
I worked in a company where I coordinated events for the company.
Hmm. Yeah, I also have coordinated events in the past as well.
Hmm. But I have never managed people. Not yet.
No,
Have you ever
um,
managed people?
in in a voluntary context, yes.
Hmm.
I managed a team actually when I was running a magazine at university,
Ah,
just an
really?
online, yeah, just an online magazine. So there were not many people to communicate with, um, but but yes, a few people.
Hmm. Okay. So we can look at some more examples in the next tasks.
Hmm.
So we have some examples of profiles. What are the differences between the two LinkedIn statements? Which is most effective? So
Hmm.
maybe I can read the first one and Emily
Sure.
can read the second one, then we compare.
Hmm.
The first one goes, so on LinkedIn, you will see the dates like that. So you have to key in with when you started and when you finished. Or if you haven't finished, they say present.
Hmm.
Okay. So the first example says researched popular culture in Asia, surveyed and interviewed people, and analyzed the results, created a database, and completed the research in 3 months, presented results to my department in a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, and the second example is talking about the same time period. So this is the same person, it's just a different uh, way of expressing the same thing. So this person says, I did some research on popular culture in Asia. I had to interview people and had to analyze results. A database was created and the research was finished in 3 months. The results were presented to my department in a PowerPoint presentation. So over to you. Which one do you think is most effective? Maybe we'll give you
So
a
I
minute or
think the
two.
first, yeah, so there's some different choices of words here.
Hmm.
Uh, One of them we have discussed before. Emily pointed
Yeah.
out something really useful here, something
Yeah.
that I have used but wasn't a good idea
Hmm.
to put in your resume. So
Yeah.
let's see who was paying attention.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, we had some comments as
Hmm.
well. So another good example from Eliza. I created cognitive exercises for neurological patients. That's amazing. And that
Yeah.
is the kind of thing to write on LinkedIn, I think, because it's understandable for everyone, but it will attract people in that field, in that area of research. So that's amazing. Well done.
Hmm. Okay, and Angela says I coordinate different teams in different countries. Oh, that's really great.
Amazing.
Yeah, you could also use the word communicate in that case. Like I
Mhm.
communicate with different, if they're clients or um,
Yeah.
customers. Yeah.
Hmm. Titi, oh, question. Some great questions today. Well done. Does
Hmm.
in charge of mean look after in another context? That's interesting. Yes, potentially. If
Hmm.
you are in a position of responsibility relating to children, or vulnerable people, then yes, it can be. Maybe if you are in charge of your brothers and sisters, maybe you are the oldest, you are the responsible one. I would say the emphasis is different because look after is more about caring for people, and in charge of is more about responsibility. So they can be used in the same, they can be used in a similar way, but the emphasis is a little different.
Hmm.
That's a really great question.
Yeah. Okay. So Sonia here says I'm a store manager. So you need an article here. For any job, you need to say A or N. I'm the store
Mm,
manager in a famous sofa shop.
mm,
I not with apostrophe, but sofa shop or furniture
yeah.
shop. I coordinate a team of 5. Very nice.
Wow.
You could also use words like I manage a team of five. All right,
Mm-hmm.
I manage a team of five, or I'm responsible for um, a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just thinking about shop. So often, if you want to specify the type of shop, I think we use the singular normally. So a sofa shop, vegetable shop. Often
Mm,
we just use the singular of the object there.
absolutely.
And another one from Titi. I wrote posts and texts on social networks when I worked for an advertising agency.
Hmm.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, Elisa here says, for me, it is most effective the first sentence. So um, you don't want to repeat the subject. So you want to say, for me, the first sentence is the most effective. The second is
Hmm.
fragmented. Hmm. All right.
Hmm.
I think I agree with Elisa.
Yeah, yeah, I think there is some debate because Martina says, I think the main difference is that in the second statement, there's the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the second one does use I. Whether
Mm.
that's a good thing or not, I think you could argue about. What do you think about that, Anika? Do you think I
Yes.
is
Mm.
necessary here?
I think the subjects are not necessary because it's kind of obvious that it's me who did it.
Hmm.
So, and often I think that people who look at your resume don't have much time to read a lot of things. So you want to be as precise and as brief as possible.
Hmm. Yeah,
Also,
I
this is
agree.
also a good thing to avoid using subjects for when you're writing a report um, about something. Using passive form is also important.
Hmm.
So I remember in a previous job doing some experiments in a laboratory, and every time we wrote a report, we had to eliminate the subject.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So I agree. I think that maybe that's one thing not necessary in the second one. You also mentioned the passive. I think the passive is a big problem in the
Mm,
second answer. We have a database was created, the
yes.
research was finished. So this is removing the emphasis on me,
Mhm.
saying I am not important. The only
Mm,
important thing was the database, which isn't true in this
mm,
context. You want to say I created the database, or in this case, like the
mm,
first example, created a database.
yeah. So also one thing that Emily had mentioned before, the
Hmm.
expression had to, um, as opposed to expressions like I completed, I uh, presented results. So had to sounds a bit um, informal, or it may show that you were not willing to do it. You just had to do it
Hmm.
because it was your responsibility, it was obligatory. So
Yeah,
that's something you
exactly.
want to avoid.
Yeah. I have one more thing to avoid in B, and that is the beginning. I did some research. So I mentioned
Mm,
before that do or did, it's very general. It doesn't say what the action was. It doesn't specify that. So in the first
mhm,
example, we have researched, which is a much stronger verb, and that's what we want to try to do on this
mhm.
kind of document.
Yeah, so remember, avoid using do and have to.
Hmm.
Elisa here has a question. When do you use statement? Do you mean the word statement or
Um,
one of these statement?
I see. So in the question, we have what are the differences between the two LinkedIn statements? So maybe
Hmm.
um, I mean, statement technically is another a kind of word for a point or a sentence. I think often we use it for example, a prepared speech.
Mm-hmm.
For example, someone in government often makes a statement if they talk to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but here, I think it refers to like one element of of the profile, or um, one paragraph about an activity. Um, but I don't know
Yeah.
if there is a rule for that or not.
So these are like parts of the experiences that you put on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So I think you would need many more statements. If you had more experience, you would write many more experiences according to the
Hmm.
period. Okay. All right. So maybe we can move on to the next task.
Hmm.
So rewrite your sentences describing. Okay. So probably this is something we can ignore
Hmm. Yeah.
because we talked about this one in the, yeah. So here it just mentions that the first one is a better idea. Okay. Okay, so here there are some more examples, and we are going to talk about if you have any, what you can write in your CV. Sorry.
Hmm.
Um, okay. Or since we have just a few minutes left, we can probably talk about like a general personal statement that we can
Hmm.
write in your profile. So here is an example to observe. So it says multicultural and multilingual. I have worked and volunteered in various environments, building strong relationships with coworkers everywhere I go. I have developed great organizational, interpersonal, and administrative skills. I am truly passionate about teaching and finding creative solutions to challenges. My career goal is to become a director of studies so that I can continue to develop my skills. So this can be a very nice summary for your resume.
Hmm.
So on LinkedIn at the beginning, just under your name and your title of your profession, you need a nice statement, a personal statement.
Hmm. Yeah, and
So,
again, remember, I think this is a nice example of changing the beginnings of sentences. You know, it's very, very easy on something like this to say but I think this does a nice job of, it begins multicultural and multilingual one way. We have some we have my career goal, but it's
mhm,
not too repetitive. It doesn't feel too repetitive.
yes. So when you're writing your personal statement, you might want to answer the following questions. So, who
Hmm.
am I? Mm, so, whatever job you are most interested in, or whatever career is your main direction, you want to mention that.
Yeah.
Number two, you want to answer the question, what skills or knowledge do I have to offer? And number three, what is my career objective?
Hmm.
Okay. So this can give the person looking at your profile a good idea of who you are and what you're looking for.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we are almost out of time now. So if you have any final questions, now is your chance.
Yeah. So I hope this has been useful.
Hmm.
Try to use this nice, impactful words in your resume. Words like the words that we looked at were manage, coordinate, responsible for, in charge of. We talked
Yeah,
about
some really great
improved,
ones.
yeah, created. These are nice words to remember.
Hmm.
So remember not to use the words have to or do Instead, try to use words, nice words like supervised, right,
Hmm.
communicate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as strong as you can make it.
yeah,
Well, this is probably the weekend for some of you now, so enjoy your evening and your weekend. And I think
yeah.
we will probably see you soon. See you again soon.
See you again soon.
So thank you for all your participation today, and goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.